So it's 1813, and 23-year-old George Muller is hanged for inciting violence. He's hanged for causing a ruckus. He's hanged for asking too many questions about the new technology that's been brought in to replace the working, skilled craftsmen of the time. Now, you might be somebody who just got laid off. You might be somebody who is 23, 22 years old, just like George, and you're having a hard time finding a job that you spent all of this time studying and prepping for because you need more experience that you don't have. Or they have somebody else doing that job with the latest technology. You might be somebody who is sitting very, very good and very, very cushy, and you're thinking to yourself, hey, this doesn't affect me at all. I'm good, I'm fine, the world is great, I'm skipping through valleys, feeling fantastic. Well, this episode, it's a short episode, but we're gonna go deep and we're gonna explore our history because an entrepreneur today, a business person today, needs to know their history. They need to know where things are going. And history, it might not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And if we want to understand where the current advances in technology are taking us, then it's worth our time to explore a little bit about how advances in technology in the past have affected humanity and the behavioral responses that came because of that. So, if you're interested, then stick along and we're going to continue to dive deeper. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Now, I got something for you today. Today, we're going to be getting into how an entrepreneur needs to know their history. And we're going to do that by looking at a specific use case that relates to the changing times that we find ourselves into today. We're going to be looking at the Luddites. We're going to be looking at George Muller and how a simple introduction of a technology ignited a rebellion, led to the murders of more than 14 people in a 2-week span. How the simple introduction of a technology led to a rebellion of the skilled workers against the rich and the political elite. We're going to be looking at how we can take from this and learn from this so that way we can adapt to the current environments. But before we get into that, this episode is brought to you by Constance.com. Now, you see, most people have no idea where to start when it comes to building a business online and starting a business online and growing a business online, specifically if you're an individual or a small team. Constance.com is made to help that. It's made to arm you to be able to navigate the new world. Constance.com is the #1 AI-powered mini website in the world. It's a site that sells while you sleep, and it's a mini site that makes you money. It has all the latest features that are designed for an individual to pick it up and get going. We're here to support the little guy, we're here to support the worker, and we're here to help people transition into the new world. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. Now, it's 1811, it's 1810, and George Muller is a skilled laborer. He's 20 years old. He just got done with his 7-year apprenticeship, and he's saying, how can I bank in on this? How can I bank on this? How can I make my money? And you think about it. There's people that go to med school. There's people that go and do these graduate degrees. There's people that apprentice with a neighborhood mechanic, whatever it might be. And as soon as you're done with all of that work that you put in, you're like, finally, I can go and make some money. I can go and earn the living that I want. But George had a problem. And the problem that George had is that there was this new technology that was introduced to people, and it allowed for somebody who was unskilled to do way more work. It was the shearing frame. And this caused a lot of unease amongst people at the time because it displaced a lot of skilled tradesmen. And so you can imagine somebody like George at this time is a little bit upset because he spent 7 years developing the skill, and now he's put in a position where he's losing jobs to people that have a fifth of his experience. He goes into the office one day and 4 of his coworkers are let go. So he's thinking, am I going to be next? Does that sound familiar? It should. So George Muller now says, all right, we have to do something about this. And so him and a few other people say, we're going to go to parliament, we're going to go to the government, and we want the government's help. We need to have some regulation around this because it seems like people that own these technologies are taking advantage of the fact that they can replace people without any recourse. And we have to be thoughtful about how we're going to introduce this new technology. We're not against the technology, but we are against the brash, aggressive, thoughtless rolling out of the technology and what that does to society. Well, what did Parliament say? What do you think Parliament said? Parliament said, hey, we don't care. We're not going to observe that. And in fact, we're going to make it illegal for anybody to come out here and, one, destroy the machines, or two, to do anything that gets in the way of people rolling out this new, inventive, powerful technology for the current times. And so there's a rift. You have one group that says, hey, we need to be thoughtful about how we're rolling out this technology. And on the other side, we have another group that says, hey, we need to move forward. We're not going to let you slow down advancement. And we're going to actually leverage our power to stop you from doing that. And so after these guys petition and they lose, Parliament says, we're going to make this machine breaking a capital offense. You can't do this. It's going to lead to you getting in trouble on a governmental level. So George Miller, at 22 years old, ends up leading this rebellion. He takes a 150-man group of people and they go and lead this raid against Cartwright's mill, but it ends up being a failed raid. And this ends up setting these dominoes in creating this event loop where people start escalating and the violence starts escalating. There was a guy named, what was his name? William Horsfall. Keep that in mind. William Horsfall, who saw this raid and he said, these guys are out of control. We have to do something about it. But it was a little bit more dramatic than that. He goes around and he says, I want to see the blood of the Luddites in the streets. And that's how adamant he is about getting against these Luddites. Well, the Luddites, and the reason why they're called the Luddites, we're going to take a little quick detour here, is there was a guy named Edward Ludd. And this was a guy a century before who, rumor has it, he got very angry at his employer at the time, his master, or however you want to label the relationship. And he took his hammer and he started smashing the machines. And the rumor has it is that's what ended up happening as his rebellion for this new machine that was being introduced. So you fast forward into the time of 1810 to 1813, that era where George Miller is operating in, and these shearing frames are brought into the world, into the economy at the time. And these people inhabit that persona. The Luddites is what they were calling them. And so William Horsfall is adamant about dragging these Luddites through the street and letting their blood drag behind them. And the Luddites end up hearing about this. And they say, we don't like that. We're going to make an example of him. And not too long after, George Miller and a band of 3 other people, keep that in mind, 3 other people end up going after this guy and killing him. They knock him off of his horse. So William Horsfall ends up getting knocked off his horse, falling off of his horse, and ends up dying. So this escalates things even more. But before they do that, these guys take a big sigh of relief and they say, okay, we did it. We took out one of the most prominent guys that are trying to put us out of work and stamp on our livelihood. Now, they think that everything is good, but things start to get a little tricky because the government starts to retaliate. And they said 12,000, I think that's 12,000 troops across Yorkshire to establish order and to bring justice to this prominent individual who died. And so we think, hey, that's bad. This is bad, but it actually gets worse because not only did they put these troops out there, they put out this bounty on the killers of William Horsfall. And they said £2,000 for anybody who can bring the people that killed William Horsfall. Well, it's quiet. It's quiet, it's quiet. And then it's not. Now, 2,000 pounds in today's dollars is about $300,000. It's a nice chunk of change. Not enough to snitch on a friend, but it's a nice chunk of change. So after nobody speaks up, the government finally gets a bite. And who is it? Well, it's one of the guys that was riding with with George Mueller. Now, some people say that snitching is just telling. I think the accurate way to describe a snitch is by saying if you are an accomplice and then you tell on the people that you were with, then you're snitching. So I believe his name was Benjamin, and Benjamin Walker. He was the fourth attacker. Sold out the rest of his group for the reward. So George and the rest of the group end up being brought to trial, and they say, okay, we will let you go if you tell us about the rest of your network, if you give us information on the rest of your accomplices. And at that moment, George had a choice. He had the choice between giving up his network, giving up the cause that he was fighting for, and giving up the people that supported that cause, or he had the choice of remaining silent and taking a stand. And what did he do? Well, we know how it ends. He took a stand. He took a stand and he didn't sell out his network, and he said as much. And so he ended up dying. Now, why do I bring this up? Why do I bring the story of the Luddites up? Well, a lot of times, especially today, people will outright call you a Luddite if you say anything bad about technology. Now, I'm a technologist. I'm a professional technologist. I support artificial intelligence. I support the development of these technologies. But I think we should be responsible for it. I think that even though we'll get to this promised land that people talk about, I don't think that the journey to the promised land is as straightforward and as simple as possible. And I'm not for letting people just hang by the wayside and have their livelihoods destroyed in the pursuit of an ignorant utopia. I believe that we need to be informed about what we're doing and not halt progress, but have an informed progress. And that's why we're talking about it today. As an entrepreneur living in 2026, we need to understand how some of these introductions of technology have caused dissent and caused retaliation and caused internal fighting in history, so we can be prepared for it and we can position ourselves in a way where we can take advantage of this. Now, if a rebellion without action will lead to just the powerful flexing their muscles and their guns and everything that they can do to stop the rebellion, then we should be aware of that. Not necessarily to say to fight, but to prepare. I choose to prepare on the side of let's embrace the technology so that way we also benefit. Because if we can also benefit, then there's no reason to be against the technology. But even more, because I don't think this message will carry to everybody unless we share it, unless we, inform other people about what we're doing. But even more, if we think that we can just remain on the sidelines for this, then we're very sorely mistaken, because the people that are sitting cushy are the people that are going to be the targets of the people that have just had their lives disrupted. So you're either William Horsfall or you're George Mueller. Both ended up dying physically, but the people around them ended up feeling the ripples of their sacrifices for the causes that they were supporting, right or wrong. So what does that mean that we should do? Well, it means that we need to educate ourselves on the times that we're actually in. It means that we have to communicate to other people, hey, take this change seriously. We need to take this change seriously so we can be on the prepared side and not the unprepared side. And then 3, we should go and explore what this new worlds that we're walking into looks like. That means that we should upskill ahead of time. That means that we should take things seriously and make sure that we're prepared, because there's always going to be a segment of people that won't care about our progress and won't care if we get left behind. And so that's why I'm communicating this. I've been in technology for a long time. I've seen a lot. I've been behind the scenes. I've talked to people who relish replacing people. And that just lets me know, hey, we have to be very proactive in terms of preparing ourselves for the future. So most people have no idea where to start. Most people have a hard time because they feel overwhelmed on all of the different messaging that's coming from everywhere. Well, what we did is we made a site, a mini website for everybody to access for free. And that mini website is an avenue where you can sell the knowledge that's inside of your head. You don't even need to set up shop. You don't need to go and get a bank loan for this. All you have to do is take 10 minutes, go to constance.com, create your mini site, pick your tools, and they're the latest and greatest tools. And you'll be on your way to preparing yourself for an uncertain future. This is one certain thing that you can take action on that costs you nothing, but the sky is the limit if you end up taking that first step. So thank you for joining us on Constance Corner. I'll see you next time. Take care and be safe. Peace out.